Film photographers, getting into film cameras can be incredibly addictive, and especially if you're like me and you really enjoy shooting with new gear all the time. I was a history major in college who spent all my time in the photo lab, and shooting with all these old cameras is like shooting a piece of history. And I love the engineering, the design quirks, and it's a lot of fun for me. But unfortunately, it got really addictive, and I think I literally, and I'm not exaggerating, bought about 100 different film cameras online over the course of a year. Now, what I would do is I had the intention of starting up this YouTube channel back then, and I was like, I'll go out, I'll shoot these cameras, and then I'll sell them. Big deal. And I never wanted to make a profit, but what I found is I was getting these cameras for so cheap that I was selling them for so much money. It became this little side hustle I did kind of for fun. And I mean, I would sell cameras for like hundreds more than I paid at times, and I was doing really well doing it. And my trick was that I would buy film cameras that were presumably broken, or the seller had no idea if it worked or not. Now, sometimes someone says that on eBay, and it's code for, yeah, it doesn't work. I'd never bought on eBay. I found different sources online, and I would buy it that way. So today we're going to look at all the cameras I bought that didn't work. I think I have like 15 of them, maybe. It could be up to 20, somewhere around there. We'll do a count. But this is out of 100, and so an 80-90% hit rate of getting cameras that worked was pretty good. I even bought my Leica M3 that way, and that's worth, I don't know, anywhere between 1,000, 2,000. I think it depends on the condition. I did pay a good amount for that one, but I didn't know if it would work. And thank God it did, because that would have been a big mistake to spend $1,000 or $1,100, I think, on that camera if it hadn't. So let's go through it. We're going to do this in 2 stages. I am going to have one edit because I want to keep these cameras separate, because I think they're in, or maybe they're not anymore, and I'm not even sure which pile was which, but I kind of had them in different piles. Not really piles, but I had the ones I thought I could fix still, and the ones I knew were completely unfixable. But let's go through them. We'll see how my memory serves me. The first one is going to be this Yashica FX-2. I have a tender spot for all Yashica cameras, mostly because I like underdogs, and I think they make just finely built cameras. The optics are pretty good too, and their lenses, but they've just been forgotten, except for that failed little Kickstarter or whatever it was. I mean, I knew that was a joke. I don't know how anyone was like surprised by the quality of that product, but this particular FX2, it basically had the bar, and I'm not sure what you call it, the pole that you pull up to release your film was bent, and so it required a lot of force, and I thought I'd take it apart and I'd just straighten it out maybe, and it would help, or maybe I'd lube it up. It didn't. And then what happened is, like always, I didn't take pictures, and I forgot the order in which I took everything off, and I just ran out of time to work on an old camera, and that's what happens. I give up. Next, we have this little point and shoot Pentax IQZ Zoom 928. I think this is actually a camera I brought home from work. I was hoping I could fix it and then bring it back in, but it was not fixable. Maybe one of our students broke it. Who knows? I think it doesn't work. The electronics are fried. Whatever. Here's one I really wished I could fix, and it is this Minox 35EL. Now, I already have a camera that kind of fits this slot of very, very small zone focusing camera. This is a really cool one. I think it was the smallest camera in the world when it came out. I do think it's a little bit smaller than my Rolleiflex 35. Yeah, I would say it is. But it is plastic. It's got a good lens from what I hear. I really wanted to shoot with it. I really think I'd enjoy the quirks of using this camera, but it just won't work. I looked online. It's, if I'm remembering right, I had to reset some spring. It was some little thing, and I tried it repeatedly. I kept trying to fix it. I was pretty sure that's what the problem was, and I never could fix it. I think maybe another day I'll give it a go, but for now, I've given up on trying to fix my little Minox. Cool camera, though. And I think I did spend like 30 bucks on this camera, which didn't work. It happens. Again, the key because I was just buying so many cameras that, you know, if 9 out of 10 worked, and based off the profit margin of selling them, if it kind of made up for the ones that didn't work. But then I got crazy and started buying like Leicas. Here we have a Taron MX. I think this is a rebranded camera, meaning like whoever made it made several different versions. I'm not 100% sure on that. I don't think it's like a high value camera in any way. It says Nihon Kosoki, so Japanese Kosoki, whatever that means. It looks like it actually has 2 problems. I can advance, but I don't think it's really advancing anything. The shutter then feels dead, like it doesn't do anything. But the big problem is that the aperture ring has been disconnected. Actually, wait, no. That's right. The focus ring. It's not really paired up. It's not connected. It doesn't work. All right, next. Oh, man, I really wanted to fix this camera, and I think it may have been like a magnetic issue. It's something that the AE1 has. It's notorious for, this magnetic lockup thing. I think this might suffer from something similar. I did take it apart and then forget how to put it back together. Classic Mick. Oh well. Oh, and here's the bag. I did save the parts at least. So that I haven't given up on. It's just, you know, it takes a lot of time. It was a fun hobby, but also it's an obsessive thing. Trying to figure out cameras when you're not like an engineer, you don't know what you're doing, and you're just like figuring it out. You know, even though I bought all the tools to make it easier. Okay, so here's a Pentax. This definitely has that lockup issue that has to do with a magnet. And sometimes you can kind of trigger the magnet or clean the magnet. It fixes the problem. I couldn't fix it on this one. I wanted to give it to someone, but I bought a new one instead. Oh well. Alright, I'm gonna go grab my other cameras and I'll be right back. Okay, so first up for my next batch of cameras, we have a Rolleiflex SL35. So a little bit about this camera. When it came out, it was clean and beautiful. I mean, the design is gorgeous. It's very minimal. It feels decently high quality, I would say. But that said, the ones that came out of Singapore were notorious for breaking. And from what I recall, looking online, it was all just like people saying it just would break. It would fry, usually electronic. It just wouldn't work. So it's like not like it has a known problem. It would just like, I think the electronics of it would just fry it. That is unfortunate because it's a really beautiful camera. I was really hoping I could use it. I don't recall what kind of mount it is. It must have been proprietary. I'm not sure. But this one, it came maybe in a group of cameras, and it just didn't work. That's another thing. If you guys are going to buy cameras online that you don't know will work, then I recommend buying groups of cameras. And if you can find, if at least one working camera in the group will pay for the rest, then you're okay. So here we have a Spotmatic SP500. I had about 8 Spotmatics at one point because I bought them in a group, and now I think I've only got like 2-3 left. I sent one over to Danae and Andrew recently, and Andrew used it for a video, which was really cool. This one is an SP500, meaning it will only go up to a 500th of a second. This is a mechanical problem, meaning it's just something's out of alignment, and I don't remember, but it's not tripping a gear isn't connected, and I know what the problem is, and I've tried bending the piece back into place, and I just could never get it though. And I may have done more damage to it in the process. So I think this is probably salvageable. You know, I don't know what to do with all these cameras. They basically sit like a display of death. Here is an Olympus OMG. And the funny thing is, it looks pristine, yet it won't work. And it's these electronic issues that these cameras, these later cameras, I guess 80s, 90s, and up would have. They'll just, if the electronics go out, the camera's done. And it's really unfortunate. This is why I really like old mechanical cameras, because they're pretty much going to go for forever. I have had very few issues. The only all mechanical cameras I've had that had an issue, well, you guys are seeing them today, would be like the SP500, that Yashica. It was really not a mechanical issue. It was just a bent pole, meaning I couldn't easily lift the the door release, and I couldn't sell a camera where someone would have a problem doing that, so I tried to fix it first. You know, I don't even know what was wrong with this guy. This is a Konica Auto Reflex T. I'm a big fan of this whole series of cameras. In fact, Konicas in general. They had great optics, and they were just incredibly well-built cameras that had their own design flair. Like, it had a unique look, so they were different than what everyone was doing, like this weird taper. I don't know what to call that. I really like their cameras, and I had an Auto Reflex T3 for a bit that I really enjoyed, and now I'm seeing what the problem was. That's right, it's got a huge dent here. Someone dropped it. The advance lever is not connected properly, so it's not something I've even tried to fix. There's also a lot of corrosion in the battery door. Here's an interesting guy, a Minolta Hymatic F. I haven't tried to fix or shoot with this at all, I don't think, because the battery door is broken. That said, it seems to fire. So, oddly enough, this is seems to be a mechanical camera, meaning you do not need a battery for the shutter to fire. Actually, let's test it right now. One way to see if it's firing, you open the door, you look through it and see if you can see light. I do not. So the shutter is not firing, yet I'm able to advance and I'm able to press the shutter. I'm gonna try that one more time. Very odd. So maybe it has stuck aperture rings. I don't know. That's a shame. It's a cool camera. It's not high value or anything. It's not a big deal. This probably came in a group of 6 cameras or so. So I'm going to be a broken record here. This next camera is a Canon AE1, which I guess I'll use for parts because I've had a bunch of these. But these cameras break all the time. Of any camera I've ordered, the most broken cameras have been the Canon AE1. They're notorious for breaking, I believe. In my experience, yes, it's anecdotal, many of them have been broken. But I've bought some for 30 bucks and they worked great. And, you know, I usually would use it, sell it for a cheap price, which would be like $160, but online, for the condition you'd find them in, they could go for a lot more. Obviously, a garage sale, that kind of thing would be the best way to get one, but buying on eBay is never going to be cheap. This next camera, I'm so disappointed in myself for breaking. Common of these rangefinders, these fixed lens rangefinders, is sticky aperture blades. Basically, oil would migrate into the blades and they wouldn't be able to release. And so it would nullify your camera if that happens. Very common in the Canon, what do you call them? What's Canons? What's it? I have one right here. The Canonet. So Canonets are notorious for this, but it's not an exclusively Canon problem. So I had that issue. I had taken apart a Canonet in the past, and I thought I could do this one just as easily, and I couldn't. I botched it up. I wanted to use this camera so badly because from all the research I did, I thought this would be like my favorite fixed lens rangefinder style camera. I like Olympus a lot more than I like Canon in this era. I love their optics. I thought it was just a well-designed camera. I still think it is. I definitely prefer the styling and a lot of things to this camera, in this camera versus the Canonet, but I broke it. And $250 camera broken by me. And when I brought it in to have it repaired, the guy's like, you botched it up too much. You lost ball bearings. It's done. And so I never got to fix that camera. So the next one would be this Canonet G3. I've had a few of these. Wonderful camera. I really loved the photos that came out of them. I think this one probably has stuck aperture blades again. However, for some reason I took off the bottom plate and I took apart the top. And so I don't remember if it was me trying to figure out I don't know why I would have done that, because you don't need to do that to get to the blades. It might have another issue. This is a problem. You need to keep copious notes if you're going to do this, because if you take a break, you're not going to remember what you were trying to do. And then the last one, it's in this baggie. I'm not even going to open it. It's an OM1. Is it just an OM1? Yeah, a black OM1. And I don't remember what the problem with this one was either. And there's no notes, so I don't know. So that's it for today. I do have a few cameras, a few more that don't work, but I don't have them out because they're in the drawers I keep my good cameras, and they more recently broke, or I wanted to keep it separate for some reason. That would include, I don't remember, nothing of high value. It's just a shame when you have a camera that works great and then one day it doesn't, and that's the problem I'm having with one of these old cameras. It's also a Konica. I used to let my students use it because it was basically an all-automatic SLR, and it was a good camera for like young kids to just try out shooting film. But that one no longer is working, and unfortunately I've shifted directions. You know, I get really into things and then I take breaks, and repairing cameras was one of them, and I was breaking some of them and it wasn't worth breaking them. Anyway, that's it for today. I hope you guys enjoyed seeing this broken film camera collection. I don't know if this would be interesting to you. If you're hearing me say this right now, that means it is, and you made it to the end of the video. So please comment below, let me know what your thoughts are, and I'll see you guys in the next video.